Sounds like it's working. Hopefully it saves. Okay, we are on Tezayin Amid Beis on 16b. We actually got pretty far down. We actually finished over 50% of the Amid already. So we are up to the words Amar Rav Chisda, Amar Avimi. It is somewhere between halfway to 3/4 the way down. Okay, so we're looking for Amar Rav Chisda, Amar Avimi. Let me know when you have found it. It's definitely not in the first section of the art scroll, if I had to assume. It's at least section number 2. I think so. I would imagine section number 2. Maybe even beginning section number 3. Who knows?
It's right by the Aleph.
Right by the Aleph?
There's an Aleph.
There's an Aleph. Is this to the second? No.
In the 10th.
There's no Aleph in my... I mean, I have Aleph spelling Amar. Oh, interesting. I don't know. Okay. But Machatzelis. Yeah, one line up. Yeah, got it. Okay, so here we go. Amar Achis, Amar Avimi. So just a reminder, two very important concepts for us to keep in mind that we keep reiterating, but it's good to review because our whole discussion tonight is based on understanding these 2 ideas. Actually, 3 ideas. Lavud. Lavud is when anything is within proximity of less than 3 tefachim to something else, they are considered to be adjoining each other. They are connected, they're contiguous from a halachic standpoint. So you have a fence with bars that are right near each other. They are contiguous. There is no gap for halachic purposes. The next...
Moshe, what page are we on?
16b, Tezayin Beis,
16b.
Down.
Okay.
Amar Rav Chis, Amar Avimi, that's what we're up to. A lineup from the Aleph, yes. So that's number 1. One is love. The second is Dofen Akuma. Dofen Akuma is the bending wall, in which if you have non-kosher schach at the edge of your sukkah, you have up until 4 amos of it, we just view it as if the wall is bending over, and the non-kosher schach will not be problematic. So that's number 2. Number 3 is what we learned previously also, that there's a debate in our Mishnah. If, let's say, what's the shear for a wall? So shear for a dofen is 10 tefachim. So what if your 10 tefachim are just suspended in midair? Would we say, good achis, that they come down and they enclose the area? So those are the 3 things that we just have to remember. If we remember those, the Gemara, God willing, should flow relatively smoothly. Okay, I was wondering what that was. It's like a flame on them. You put a flame on? Okay, that was supposed to be. Okay, making sure. Then spontaneously combust. Amar Achis, Amar Avini, Machzeles Arba Umashahu. Materis Basuk Mishum Dofen. So if you have a this mat which is 4 tefachim and a little bit more hanging as a wall for your sukkah, so it will be machshir, it will render the sukkah kosher, even though it's only 4 tefachim, a little over 4 tefachim. Wait a minute, how could a wall that's a little over 4 tefachim be a kosher wall? I thought we needed a 10 tefach wall. So how's it work? Hechi avid, tali le be'emsa. So let's say your schach is 10 tefachim off the ground, and what you basically do is you hang it in a way that it's pachos mishlosha lamata upachos mishlosha lamala b'chol pachos mishlosha kilaver dami. So Erwin points out that there are pictures that you can see. I got pictures of mine as well. Yes. Yeah. So Erwin points out the article provides pictures as well. It's the picture Erwin's showing me on the bottom left corner that you can see, in which there is a wall suspended in midair. It's less than 3 tefachim to the schach, less than 3 tefachim to the ground. And as we said, the magic of lavud is that it doesn't only say that 2 areas are connected, but it actually fills in the gap. It doesn't just say that this 4 plus tefach wall is connected to the ground schach, but we imagine as if the space between the wall and the schach and the ground is no longer an air gap, but actually is filled in. Such is the magic of lavud, that it doesn't only close the gap, it fills the gap. I think that was a good formulation, actually. Patting myself on the back there. Okay. But the question is, Pshita. We covered this many times. We know what lavud is already. We've mentioned it ad nauseum. So what's the chiddush here? So I would think, I lean you at this point, that you can use lavud once. How do I know that I can use lavud multiple times over to make a kosher sukkah? So that's the chiddush, that you can use lavud more than once. It's replenishable. You can use it as many times as you want, so long as you're abiding by the general principle. Meisvei, but is this true that you could suspend a wall in midair and use lavud twice? We have another brisa which seemingly contradicts this. Machzelet shiva umashu materes b'suk mishum dofen. There's a brisa that says not a 4+ tefach, but you need a 7+ tefach wool in order to be mashur to sukkah. Now, assuming we're talking about a 10 tefach sukkah, the assumption here is that a 7+ tefach wool works because you're only utilizing lavud once, right? Lavud would fill in the under 3 tefachim that are left. It sounds like from here that you can't use lavud twice. What? Which is also pictured in the art scroll, Irwin. So Kitanya Hahiba Sukkah Gedola. So rather, what's this brisa referring to? It's referring to when there's a very large sukkah. Umay Kamash Malan, and what's it teaching us? The Mishalshal Depanus Mamalamatik Rebbe Yossi. That what you can do is basically teaching us the principle of good achis. That as long, basically, what you're doing is that you're suspending it near the schach. You use lavud to fill the gap between the 7+ tefachim, right? So 7.1 tefachim and then 2.9 tefachim of air. They combine together and they form a wall of 10 tefachim. And then the sukkah could be 19.99 amos tall. And then we say good achis, and thereby it closes the gap, and you have a kosher sukkah. So the chiddush is that we say a suspended wall that has the shear of a wall can actually constitute a full dofen for the purpose of sukkah. Okay, let me pause. Anything I could clarify at this point? Well, okay. Tosos wants to clarify something for us. So if you want to glance at Tosos before Hamaskal toward the bottom, Ma the Tema Chalav and Amrina Trail of Amrina. So Tosos is asking, what is this Havamina that, why would the Gemara even think in the beginning that there'd be an issue of using lavud twice? We already dealt with this. You remember all the way back on 7a on Zayinim at Aleph. We established that the walls of a sukkah are similar in certain ways to the walls of how you make walls on Shabbos. So on Shabbos, in order to enclose a Rishus HaYachid or some area, you can use strings and make sure that they're all within 3 tefachim of each other, and then it creates a 10 tefach wall. So we've already established this on Zayin and Aleph, because what are you essentially doing when you make those strings? You're using lavud from one string, lavud to the other string, lavud to the schach. So you're using lavud multiple times. We've already established this. We shouldn't be acting all surprised that you can use lavud more than once. So what was the Havamina? What was the Gemara even questioning that you would think that lavud couldn't work in the first place more than once? So Tosa says, so generally when you are making a sukkah, welcome Phyllis. Generally when you're making a sukkah, so you have actually this is how we refer to a cross in rabbinic literature also. So you basically, when you're weaving something, there's the string that goes down and the string that weaves in on the side, and that is the shesi and the erev. You need help finding the mute on there? Okay. All right. Good to have you with us, Phyllis. Okay, you want me to help you with that? All right. Very good. No, you didn't? Here, just pass it over. That's all good. Just it's hard for me to hear myself multiple times. I have to live myself already, right? All right.
You have an Android phone?
Yes. All right. Okay. So we're in Tosos on Tez Zayin Mebez, right? But we'll return back to the Gemara in just a moment. Not to worry. You'll just hear it as Torah Shabbat Peh. So Tosos says, right? You might think, what would the Havamina be? The Havamina was maybe you need vertical and horizontal strings. It wouldn't be sufficient without that. So the Ein Lahakshos. The Tiski, Tisagi, B'shnei Chavam, She'obi, Nes, B'tefa, B'marin, Love, K'deshkin, B'parakama, the Ervin, the Makidim, B'shosh Chavam, B'hacha, B'shnei Tisagi. Now, you might also still think that, wait a minute, isn't this obvious? Because we learned in Meseches Ervin that in Hilchos Shabbos, again, you don't need both Chesi and Erev. We could suffice with just one with just the Erev, and that would be sufficient. So there, it's not such an obvious premise that we can infer from there as a model that you can suffice without Shasiva Erev, because Hamrina Hasam Bil Hatir Ebeshayar. There it's talking about they were in their caravans, they were traveling, and there was extenuating circumstances. But who's to say that lichatchila you're allowed to make a sukkah such a way? Therefore, it comes along our Gemara and teaches us that you can use lavid multiple times over, whether it's Shesi or whether it's Erev, it doesn't matter. That's what Tosas wants to suggest. Okay, take it or leave it. Back into the Gemara, we are 5 lines up from the bottom of 16b at Simon Bays. Amar Rebbe Ami. So in the previous passage of the Gemara, we were discussing how lavud could be used to complete the requisite height of the sukkah. Now we're going to be using lavud to fulfill the requisite width and length of the sukkah. So the other two dimensions. Amar Rebbe Ami, and again, I would presume it's pictured inside your Gemaras as well. Amar Rebbe Ami pas arba umashu matir b'sukkah mishum dofen. So umukim leba pachas v'shoshet tvachim samach dofen, well pachas v'shoshet samach dofen lavud dami. So what's going on here? If you have a board that is 4.1 tvachim, you can use it to fulfill the 7 by 7 tefach requirement for a kosher sukkah. How so? So we said, if you basically take this 4.1, right, 2.9 tvachim of airspace, then 4.1 tvachim of actual wall. Again, the way the mechanics of it work is that it doesn't just close the gap, it fills the gap. So therefore, that gives you a nice 7 tefach wall. Okay, but again, the Gemara asks, I kamash malan. Well, this is a very nice chazar shir, shkoyach, but we learned these halachos already. And if you don't believe, if we're forgetting, it's a good chazar, but still, we know this already. We've already established this. So a kamash malan, the shir meshach sukkah gitana shiva. That the chiddush is that the minimum dimensions of a sukkah is 7 by 7 tvachim. To which Mefarshim asked, wait a minute, but don't we know that already from what's it, Gimel Amid Aleph or something? So the Mefarshim try to figure out exactly that. We're talking about, what's the chiddush here? Maybe because I thought it was conclusive, and maybe it was not so clear from the beginning. There's a bit of a discussion as to why that's a better chiddush, why that's not so obvious, but we'll leave that for now. All right, let me pause. Any questions? We're going to go forward to Yud Amid Aleph to 17a in just a moment. Start the next Gemara, next Mishnah. Erwin.
Basically, when you look at the word sukkah,
yeah,
you have the 4 is the best, the 3, and then the hay
right
is the 2, and
it's like the dreidel almost.
Yeah. So from that, we already see that the open space.
You're saying we have open spaces in the words of sukkah.
Some.
I see in the hay. Right, and hey, you already right. So we had a discussion, right, when we talked about this a long time ago. When we say the minimum dimensions of the sukkah is 2 walls and a tefach, right, mashu. So you have or tefach. So where do we put that extra tefach? So do we have to? So according to one of the shittas in the Gemara, we are actually operates off the principle of lavud. It was actually this very description. You're correct. And that's precisely the question. I thought we talked about this already. That's what exactly. That's what's bothering the Gemara. Hey, we learned this a while ago, right? Okay. All right. Moving on to the next Mishnah. And again, this is where keep lavud in mind. We'll talk about lavud in just a moment. But just to reiterate, also our good friend, the concept of dofen akuma is making a resurgence. Dofen akuma, just to briefly go over some halachos. If there is an air gap in your skach, 3 tfachim passels a sukkah of just open air in the sukkah. However, non-kosher skach, this is the funny thing. Non-kosher skach is better than the absence of skach altogether. Why? So number one, non-kosher skach takes up to 4 tfachim to passel a sukkah. But that's in the middle of the sukkah. If the non-kosher skach is on the edges of the sukkah, you get up to 4 amos, not including 4 amos, just under 4 amos, and we view the non-kosher skach as an extension of the wall bending over. So you can't really sit under it, I believe, but it means that the actual kosher stock in the middle will be usable. That's what the Mishnah is going to tell us right now. I just thought I would spell it out, hopefully clearly outside. Now we'll see it inside. Kirchik es hasichuch min hadefanos shlosha tvachim psula. Okay, there it is. If the schach is distant 3 tvachim or more from the walls, it is a pasal sukkah, because like we just said, an air gap of 3 tvachim pasals the sukkah. Good. Now we're going to give 3 examples which flesh out the idea of dofen akuma. Bayis shenifchas usikech al gabav yeshmin akosel asichuch arba amos psula. So we've talked about this case in the past. You should have, or is there a picture of a collapsed in roof? Yeah, is it there? Yeah, I think it is. So if you, for those using Art Scroll, you'll see a picture. Basically, imagine the room we're sitting right now. The ceiling pulls in, God willing, when we're not here, and now we have this big gap in the ceiling. So not the entire ceiling, some of the ceiling on the side is still there. So what you basically do is we say, oh, you know what? It's terrible when it happens, but great timing. It's sukkahs. Let's put schach on top of it and use it as a sukkah. Yeah, Phyllis.
Is that what found missing in the sukkah here?
Oh, Phyllis is asking what issues did I find with our sukkah before we hopefully remedied them. I found a number of issues. One is the air gap. Yes, very good. So the issue was the wall on the far side.
Yeah.
If you look, the schach is very distant from the actual wall. So there's an air gap, much more 3 tvachim, and no less only on the side of the sukkah. So that wall was not usable. Then the other issue was we have those little alcoves, like indentations in the wall of the shul, and the schach doesn't reach there. So that was another issue. So then they put a tarp there.
Yeah, but no one goes.
Yeah, but we need a wall. Yeah. So the tarp, but we need a wall for the sukkah. Even if you don't go there, we still need something to be called a wall to make a sukkah kosher.
But you have the wall.
So the indentation is not
going.
Yes, we had one wall on facing the street, which also had
and the entrance wall,
and then the entrance. So that's 2, and then we got a little bit from that one. Yeah.
So we can use the walls that has a gap in the top.
Yeah.
As a third,
could be. Honestly, I had doubts about every wall, but for different reasons.
Oh.
I think I wound up not making a lay shape because I was so concerned. But anyway, I'm glad I told you this post factum. All right. But yes, Phyllis, that is correct. That was one of the concerns I had. I had a few concerns. All right. Next. Bias. So the collapsed in wall. So if there's still some ceiling remaining and it goes up to and certainly over 4 amos, then it's a pasal sukkah. Or if you have basically these overhangs, let's say you're in a courtyard. So the way the courtyard is, 1 wall, and then you have 2 walls, and then you have this overhang, like what do you call it?
Awning.
Awning. Thank you. You have this awning that's sticking out. So, and then you put the schach over the awning, and then certainly over the air gap. So again, it depends. How far does the awning extend out? If it's less than 4 amos, we're good. If not, then it's possible. Likewise, sukkah gedola shekufa b'davar she'im esachin bo yishtaglu b'arba amos psula. So let's say you have 100% kosher schach, but then you put like a blanket or something over some of that schach. So if the blanket covers 4 amos or more, then that schach under it is invalidated. It's no use to us, and then you don't have a kosher sukkah. Basically, this all drives home the point of the concept of dofen akuma, that when it is less than 4 amos, then it's an extension of the wall, and the sukkah can be kosher. But the Gemara now asks, Kohani lamali. Okay, I get it. There's something called dofen akuma. Why do I need 3 different examples to state the same point? Right? We have imaginations. We can think of different cases. The Mishnah is known to be succinct. So why did it give us 3 examples? So here we go. Sricha, the iash ina bais nifkas mishum dahani nefitz bais avidan ala chatzar mukafis sadra the nefitz lavan sadra avidi ema lo. So therefore it's sricha. So what's going on here? So I would think the walls of the house, they're actually made for the house, and the ceiling is just an extension of the house. So it's very reasonable to actually view the ceiling as an extension of the wall. But to think of the awning, which is like a separate unit, which is not really part of the house, which is the walls, to view the awning as an extension of the wall itself, like even just eyeballing it, it doesn't look like an extension of the wall. Nonetheless, the chiddush of the Mishnah is that it counts for dofen akuma to make a kosher sukkah nonetheless. Finally, the iash me'inan hanitarti, if if we only taught the first two cases, but not the final case of covering the kosher skach but not kosher skach, mishum skach and skach pasherhu, ala sukkah gedolah sheikuv b'davar she'em esachim b'sukkah skach paselhu ema lo tzricha. So I would think, the Achsadra could be made out of wood. The houses, we're looking at Arshel here, but the houses could be made out of wood. So in the first two cases of the Mishnah, for all we know, the material is inherently kosher for skach. It was just an issue of tasav l'mina asoy. When it was made, it wasn't made for the sake of working as a sukkah. So therefore, it's tasav l'mina asoy. But the material is inherently kosher. So that's why we need a third case in the Mishnah to teach me that even non-kosher skach can still work for dofen akuma. Very briefly, let me just share with you a ritva, and then I'll let you go. The ritva asks the following question. There's two questions, but we'll just do one for now. The ritva asks, what is the havamina? Right? So the Gemara had to go out of its way the Mishnah had to go out of its way to give us a third example of covering the kosher skach with non-kosher skach to teach me that even when the skach is non-kosher, the motion sensor is not working over here. Light switch is right over there, actually. Oh, thank you. You just gotta flip the switch up, but if you flip the switch, okay, fine. So you just have to move, and more people will be moving around, so you'll be good for the event. Okay, so the Ritva asks, I still don't get the havamina. What's the havamina that pasel skach would not work for a sukkah, right? What's the whole idea is that it's an extension of the wall. A wall could be made out of virtually anything. So what's the havamina that I would not be able to use pasel skach? If the whole point is that it's an extension of the wall, which is pasel for skach in all likelihood. So answers the Ritva as follows. Venerally, the hachikam. The Dilma Havasaka Daita, I would have thought, the Schach Pasel lo Gemiri Be Dofen Akuma. Why would Schach Pasel not be able to be used for Dofen Akuma? The Kavan She'eno Min HaSukkah Klal, because it is Pasel, it's not associated with the Sukkah at all, and therefore it's Mavsik B'chotze Ma'od. It would be like a Chatzitza. Because it's Pasel for Schach, maybe I would think, it's the Havamina, that it would be Chotzes. It would be interposing. It's interrupting between the Schach and the wall. Maybe it'd be a strike against us because it's Pasel. Avol Kesha Schach Pasher El Shunas L'Shem Dira Demin B'Minohu Eno Chotzes Kolkach. But I would say that maybe when the sukkah, maybe when you're using inherently kosher skach, the skach is inherently kosher. It could be used for the sukkah, but it's just put down with the wrong intention. We have tasav l'mina asoy. It wasn't put down, the shame sale wasn't done for the sake of the sukkah. So I would say, but since it's inherently kosher material, of course it would work for dofen akuma. So roy lahashira id dofen akuma. So Kamash Malan, that's what the Gemara is coming to dispel. Even though there's a reasonable basis for me to think that non-kosher skach cannot be used as an extension wall for dofen akuma, comes along the Gemara and tells me, nonetheless, non-kosher skach be used for dofen akuma. So Phil, to your question about the shul sukkah, our other solution for the wall on the far side, Rabbi Cohen, we were talking, was maybe put a tarp over it to connect it to the wall, and the tarp would work as dofen akuma to connect it, and just don't sit under the tarp. Well, that was kind of why we didn't go for it, because people would get the wrong idea, people would eat under it, so that's what we go with it. Right, so that's the issue. I said we could use it as a learning moment, but people would be outside when we announced it, so it would be an issue. All right, shkayak everyone on the phone, good learning together, and good night.
Thank you. Bye.